13. ESP in art, culture, and cinema. Introduction. ESP as muse. Extrasensory experiences, often associated with the mysterious and unexplored, have always tickled the human imagination. The scientific and philosophical investigation of these phenomena certainly has immeasurable value, but equally profound is the impact that ESP has had on art, culture, and the media. Through the lens of art, ESP becomes not only an object of curiosity, but a source of profound inspiration, a symbol of what transcends concrete and tangible reality. The fascination of the invisible world and of perceptions that go beyond the five senses has found fertile ground in human narratives since ancient times. From the myths and legends of ancient civilizations, which told of premonitory dreams or communication with the divine, to modern literature, the desire to understand and represent ESP has permeated human culture in profound ways. But why are art and culture so fascinated by ESP? One possible explanation is the inherently limited nature of human perception. Art, in all its forms, seeks to overcome these limits, to explore what lies beyond the surface. And what could be further beyond the confines of the known than experiences that transcend the senses? Take, for example, Salvador Dali's famous painting, The Persistence of Memory. While not directly related to ESP, it evokes a feeling of altered reality, of time and space merging in unexpected ways. It is an image that prompts us to reflect on the very nature of reality and how we perceive it. And isn't this the same question at the heart of ESP? What is truly real? And how can we know it? In works of art, we often find an echo of the questions and challenges faced by ESP research. Art questions, challenges, and, at times, anticipates scientific understanding. It is an ongoing dialogue where art and science feed off each other, prompting each to exploration and reflection. But beyond these profound reflections, ESP in art also serves as a mirror of society's desires, fears, and hopes. Cultural representations of ESP can reveal as much about a culture as any philosophical or scientific treatise. And now, as we venture further into this chapter, we will explore how ESP has inspired and influenced different forms of art and media. The first area we will examine will be literature. From classic Gothic literature, with its dark atmospheres and supernatural forebodings, to modern genre novels that explore the potential and dangers of extrasensory perception, literature has a long and rich history of interacting with ESP. But how have these narratives shaped and have been shaped by the cultural understandings of ESP? And what are the challenges and opportunities they present? These are just some of the questions we will address in the next segment. ESP literature and novels. Literature has always had an intimate relationship with the unknown, seeking to explore and give voice to the deepest recesses of the human psyche. This fascination with the mysterious and unseen has led to the emergence of many works dealing with perceptions and abilities beyond the common senses. From the Gothic supernatural to intriguing modern fiction, literary tales have used the idea of extrasensory powers to explore complex psychological, ethical, and philosophical themes. In classic Gothic novels, for example, premonition and telepathy were often the focus of intricate plots of mystery and suspense. These stories not only offered chills to readers, but they asked fundamental questions about the nature of reality, the human ability to perceive the hidden, and the fine line between sanity and madness. An emblematic example can be Dracula by Bram Stoker, where visions and dreams play a crucial role in revealing the dark presence of the Count. In the 20th century, as psychological and parapsychological research advanced, the literature began to treat ESP in more sophisticated and nuanced ways. Novels such as The Sunday Woman by Fratero and Lucinini, despite being a detective story, subtly intertwine elements of premonition and intuition, suggesting the possibility of latent abilities in some individuals. In parallel, science fiction has embraced the idea of ESP as a potential human evolution, exploring how such capabilities might affect society, ethics, and personality. Frank Herbert's Dune, for example, presents a society in which different forms of ESP are central to power, religion, and strategy. But beyond the grand themes and speculations about the future, ESP literature has often addressed very personal and intimate issues. The desire to connect, to be understood, loneliness and isolation, fear of the unknown and anxiety in the face of inexplicable capabilities, these are all recurring themes. ESP, in these contexts, becomes a metaphor for the deepest human desires and most unfathomable fears. As we continue to navigate through the artistic impulse to explore ESP, it is inevitable that we turn our gaze to another powerful medium, cinema. If literature can tell in an intricate and intimate way, cinema has the ability to visually show the invisible, to make the impalpable palpable. How did the filmmakers come up with something so ethereal and ineffable? And what have been the most memorable performances of ESP on the big screen? We will venture into these waters in the next segment. Cinema and extrasensory perceptions. If literature has explored extrasensory perceptions through words and stories, cinema has the power to visualize the invisible, creating an immersive experience for the viewer. The big screen has had, since its inception, a deep affinity for the unknown, using cinematic techniques to make visible powers and perceptions that escape the common senses. One of the first examples dates back to the beginnings of silent cinema. Films such as F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu offered dream sequences in which the premonitions and nightmares of the protagonists were visualized through ethereal images and slow-motion sequences. While these early portrayals were primitive, they set the stage for ESP's cinematic exploration. In the 1960s and 1970s, with the rise of the counterculture and interest in the paranormal, cinema began to treat extrasensory perceptions in new and innovative ways. Carrie, by Brian De Palma, for example, tells the story of a young woman with telekinetic powers. In addition to its horror aspect, the film explores profound themes such as alienation, adolescence and revenge, using ESP as a metaphor for growth and self-discovery. Another notable example from this period is The Omen, a film that uses premonition as a narrative drive. Tension builds as the fulfillment of the prophecy approaches, with the audience drawn into the maelstrom of suspense. The cinematic representation of ESP has also taken on a more scientific and speculative turn. Movies like Steven Spielberg's Minority Report imagine a future where premonitions are used by the police to prevent crimes before they happen. Although the film is set in a dystopian future, it raises pertinent ethical questions. Can premonition be considered evidence? And to what extent should society rely on such methods? Beyond the great Hollywood films, auteur cinema has also explored the theme of ESP. Filmmakers like David Lynch, known for his dreamy and surreal narratives, often play with the perception of reality, blurring the lines between dreaming and waking, reality and fantasy. In films like Mulholland Drive, extrasensory perceptions become an integral part of the plot, challenging the viewer to discern what is real from what is not. But cinema is not just a means of representing ESP, it is also a vehicle for exploring its implications. Whether it is the loneliness and alienation of those with such powers, the ethical challenges posed by their existence, or the simple wonder of what is possible, cinema invites the viewer to reflect, wonder, and imagine. As we continue our journey through ESP in art and culture, we will move from these visual images and narratives to the world of sound. How can music, with its vibrations and frequencies, connect to the idea of extrasensory perceptions? Is there a link between what we hear and what we perceive beyond our ordinary senses? We will explore these questions and many more in the next segment. Music and vibrations, impalpable connections. Music has always had the ability to evoke emotions, memories, and, in some cases, experiences that go beyond simple acoustic perception. This potency of music has led many to speculate about its ability to act as a bridge to extrasensory perceptions, linking sound vibrations to the vibrations of the universe itself. For millennia, cultures around the world have used sound as a means of connecting with the divine. The shamanic songs of indigenous tribes, the bells of Buddhist temples, or the mantras of Vedic India are not just musical expressions, but meditation and trance tools, capable of bringing the individual into an altered state of consciousness. In such states, it is believed that people can perceive information beyond normal sensory perception. In the modern world, research into music and its vibrations has revealed interesting connections between sound frequency and physiological response. For example, binaural frequencies, which exploit subtle differences in pitch between the left and right ears, have been used to induce meditative states, stimulate creativity, or even improve memory. Some argue that these frequencies may also open the door to extrasensory perceptions, although this remains an area of debate. Composers such as Richard Wagner or Claude Debussy have sought to transcend the real through their works, creating soundscapes that invite the listener to immerse themselves in inner, often dreamy or ethereal worlds. One could say that these composers were trying to capture the essence of ESP through their notes, offering their listeners a window into dimensions beyond tangible reality. In the 20th century, the advent of electronic music expanded the possibilities for exploring these realms. Artists such as Karlheinz Stockhausen or Brian Eno have experimented with synthesizers, samplers, and loops, creating sonic environments that challenge traditional perceptions of space and time. This experimentation is not limited to the ambient or experimental genre. Even in pop and rock music, artists like Jimi Hendrix or Pink Floyd have flirted with the idea of transcendence through music. For many people, the experience of a live concert can have something mystical about it. The collective feeling of being united by music, the power of sound vibrations, and the synergy between artists and audience can lead to moments of pure ecstasy. At such moments, the line between ordinary perception and ESP seems to blur, suggesting that music may indeed have the power to connect us with something greater than ourselves. In conclusion, music, with its sound waves and vibrations, represents one of the most powerful artistic vehicles for the exploration of extrasensory perceptions. Just as musical notes fill the air, connecting artist to listener, so the search for understanding and connection guides us in our exploration of ESP in art. But music isn't the only medium through which artists seek to touch the ineffable. Painting, with its shapes and colors, has also tried to represent the invisible. How can brushstrokes on a canvas capture extrasensory perceptions? Which artists have tried to go beyond the veil of tangible reality? These questions will be the focus of our next segment. Painting and visual arts, visions beyond the veil. The visual arts, especially painting, have an ancient and intricate relationship with the ineffable and the mysterious. Since time immemorial, artists have sought to capture not only tangible reality, but also the underlying essence and perceptions that escape ordinary sight. In antiquity, representations of deities, spirits, and otherworldly worlds abounded. One can think of cave paintings as the first evidence of this attempt to represent the beyond. Many of these intricate and symbolic images suggest visions, dreams, or altered states of consciousness. These plays were not just art, but had ritual and spiritual significance, serving as a bridge between the material and spiritual worlds. Moving forward, during the Renaissance, artists such as Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo not only sought to depict physical perfection, but also to capture the essence of the soul. Their works are imbued with an aura of transcendence and mysticism, suggesting that there is something deeper beyond the surface. The 20th century has seen a veritable explosion of artistic explorations that seek to touch the ineffable. The Surrealists, for example, were fascinated by the world of dreams, the unconscious, and the paranormal. Artists such as Salvador Dali and René Magritte have created works that challenge our perception of reality, proposing dreamlike landscapes and impossible scenes, often with a strong sense of mystery and ambiguity. Even abstractionism, carried out by artists such as Vasily Kandinsky and Pete Mondrian, moves away from the literal representation of the world, rather trying to capture the essence of things through shapes, colors, and lines. Kandinsky, in particular, believed in the ability of paint to evoke direct emotional responses, similar to those evoked by music. Recently, with the rise of virtual reality and digital technology, artists have new tools to explore and represent ESP. Immersive installations and interactive works allow the public to immerse themselves in digitally created worlds, offering experiences that challenge traditional perception and open the door to new forms of extrasensory perception. Despite these advances, the essence of the art remains unchanged. It is an attempt to capture and communicate that which is beyond immediate understanding. Whether it's an ancient cave painting, a Renaissance portrait, or a digital installation, art seeks to touch the ineffable, to make us see beyond the veil of everyday reality. While painting and the visual arts represent static and tangible attempts to capture ESP, the moving narratives of contemporary TV series offer a dynamic and ever-changing representation of these themes. With intricate storylines, multi-dimensional characters, and captivating visual scenarios, how are contemporary TV series addressing and representing ESP? This will be the focus of our next segment, where we will explore how the small screen is revolutionizing our understanding of extrasensory perception. ESP in contemporary TV series. The small screen, traditionally considered inferior to cinema in terms of complexity and depth, has undergone a revolution in the last few decades. Television series have become compelling narratives, offering spaces for deep reflection and artistic experimentation. One of the emerging themes in this context is extrasensory perception, explored through plots, characters, and visual scenarios. A striking example of this interest is the growing popularity of series dealing with topics related to the paranormal, the sixth sense, or psychic abilities. These shows, while maintaining an entertaining tone, offer the audience the opportunity to reflect on complex issues such as the nature of reality, the boundaries of human perception, and the relationship between science and mystery. Take, for example, series like Stranger Things. Set in the 1980s, the series plays with nostalgia and cinema classics of that period, but also introduces concepts such as the world upside down and the psychic abilities of the protagonist, Eleven. These elements, while fantastic, offer food for thought on altered perception, nonverbal communication, and the interaction between different dimensions. Another notable example is The OA. With a non-linear narrative and full of symbolism, the series deals with topics such as life after death, out-of-body experiences, and telepathy. The complexity of the plot prompts viewers to wonder about the nature of existence and the unexplored possibilities of the human mind. These series don't just present ESP as a superpower or a curse, but try to intertwine it with existential, ethical, and social issues. The ability to communicate telepathically, for example, can be seen as a gift, but it also leads to issues of privacy, consent, and accountability. In addition to the storylines, the characterization also reflects the complexity of the ESP. Individuals with psychic abilities are often portrayed as outcasts or misunderstood, perhaps reflecting our society which struggles to understand and accept what escapes the norm. At the same time, these characters offer a different view of the world, suggesting that there are many realities and perceptions beyond those shared by the majority. The growing popularity of these series clearly indicates a public fascination with the unknown and the ineffable. However, it should be noted that while these representations can open the mind to new possibilities, they can also help spread stereotypes or misconceptions about ESP. If you want to continue exploring the fascinating world of ESP through art and culture, please like and subscribe to our channel. We grow together, each like and subscription brings us closer to the unknown. Don't miss the next episodes.